Hello and welcome to my podcast entitled David versus Goliath, Adventures of a Pro Se Litigant. I'm a little early in the technology and the visual aid, so if you'll bear with me with some of these clumsy physical helpers, then I think we can get through this. So I'm calling this first episode Introduction, an overview. What if this had happened to you? What happened to me? I really feel there's a couple of different target audiences for this. This is me versus IBM. So IBM retirees that have a similar situation as I do would find this of value. It is a kind of a victim against the big guy story. So those of you who like Love Canal or fight the tobacco companies, it's similar to that. And then the image of Sisyphus pushing the rock is the challenge of doing this pro se without counsel. And that means I've not got any attorneys and I'm doing everything myself right now. What I discovered, there's not a lot of information about doing that, and so I'm hoping that the some of my experiences and lessons learned would be of value if someone's considering the same issues. As an early disclaimer, I'm not at all legally trained. I'm not a legal professional. It's highly advisable if you have a similar situation that you consider or consult legal counsel, and everybody's situation is different. So again, my story in here and my tales are more for education and assistance to help you make an informed decision, and if some of my actions and experiences can benefit you, then that's all the better. One way to think about what happened to me and how I pursued this is, if you think about your own situation where a real crime occurred to you. So let's say you get up in the morning, go to your driveway, and your car's missing. So your car's been stolen. So what are you going to do? You're going to call the police or maybe 911, and you're going to expect them to get involved and help you and either help you find the car and catch the criminal, prosecute, not persecute, make sure they don't do it again, and that's what you expect. Now, let's change that scenario a little bit. You get up in the morning and you go and look on your bank account to check your balance or to do some transaction activity and find you're locked out. Also, kind of injustice has been done. Like, why are you locked out? And it's not an accident. It's been a conscious action. So who do you call now? You can't call the police. That's not their jurisdiction. So what happened to me was I had a fund of money that IBM had promised would be available upon retirement. And sure enough, when I retired, and it was to pay additional healthcare expenses. And sure enough, in 2020, when I retired, at the end of 2020, throughout 2021 and 2022, I was able to access this fund and process, what are sort of excess medical expenses against that, and basically have it covered. Towards the end of 2022, they were announcing changes to their overall healthcare benefits, but I thought this isn't going to affect me. And then all of a sudden, in January, February, March, April, I realized that they had changed the people that were managing this, the companies they were using, and in fact, my funds were frozen out. So, it's almost like the trucker convoy in Canada. People there experienced, having their accounts frozen. So, an example of how I would describe this, there is a lot of detail to this, and I'll get into that in later episodes to explain it, but this was a posting that my daughter put together for me for the anti-work subreddit, ANTIWRK. The title says, I worked 42 plus years at a large corporation. All I want is some dollars I was promised. Instead I get GFY, kind of the famous acronym that Trump popularized recently. 42 plus years, and when I try to access my promised healthcare benefit, suddenly they're telling me no can do. Yippee. Currently suing to try and get access. Wish me luck. And that's got let's see, 12 upvotes. It's been viewed 10,000 times. Pretty good upvote rate. So that's a simplistic thing. It's like something that I had before, and why can't I have it anymore? So we're going to get into a lot of the detail of how we got there and the interesting experience on there, but let me just show you a current timeline so you can be positioned about where I'm at. So there we go. In August, I got the final statement from IBM that, no can do, this is our final decision. So that was my decision to file suit. I filed it as discrimination. So one activity that was required to do a discrimination civil suit is to file a discrimination charge at the EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity something or other commission. And I did that in September. The outcome of that was I get a letter from them that said they're not going to pursue it themselves, but they're not commenting on the merits of the complaint in any way, and I have a right to sue for 90 days. This was actually the second letter I got that said, your avenue, George, is to sue. Some effort to go, what does it really mean to file sue? It's not like in the movies, sue the ass off this guy or whatever. There's a process and there's forms, and I've got that all figured out. So I filed the formal, it's called a statement of complaint in mid-November, November 16th. 2 days later, I was fortunate enough that there was an article written about it, so I have some publicity about it. And IBM had until December the 9th to answer, 21 days, and they missed their date, which was unusual. So on December the 11th, I got an email from another law firm, or from a law firm that said they're representing IBM. They asked for 30 extra days. I gave them that. And so now, January 10th, they're going to respond with something. So that's my next kind of crucial date. And I realize now that this is kind of like a chess game, this litigation stuff, civil litigation. I make a move, hit a timer. They got to respond. They're going to make a move by January the 10th, hit another timer, and it's back in my court. I'm anticipating a little bit what that might be. And the general expectation is I'll get, substantial motion to dismiss, and I'll have to respond to that. And full disclosure up front, I have I've done 2 serious rounds of search for counsel. The second one started more recently when I really got some feedback that, this could be too big a challenge, that counsel could help. However, I don't have the funds, so I have started a GoFundMe to try and pay for counsel should I hire some. But that's sort of where I stand on that right now. Social media is another interesting avenue to this whole discussion. And basically, the IBM Facebook groups are blocking me from publishing this activity, which would be a good way to get a list of similar people in the same situation. But anyways, I did manage to post on the IBM subreddit. They agonized over it for a few days, but came back and said this looks interesting and relevant. So I'm just going to read some of that so you get another kind of complete picture of my situation. GoFundMe to help me fight IBM. I have started a civil suit in federal court against IBM. Federal court is another interesting thing. It's not state court, it's not county court, it's federal court. They are screwing a segment of retirees out of access to their HRA funds. It's discrimination, plain and simple. I'm not asking for some big settlement. Now, this is an important thing. Like, what is the outcome, George, that you're asking of your lawsuit? Like, some of my neighbors say, oh, you're going to get rich. You're suing IBM, deep pockets. No, not asking for some big settlement like some Powerball win. Just unlock my $20,000 for healthcare expenses. Oh, no. Instead, they use a big gun law firm, apparently, with a well-known reputation. So I do have the link to the firm that contacted me that represents IBM. It's Jackson Lewis. Jackson Lewis, the notorious law firm at the forefront of union busting. So yeah, in their write-up, they've been involved in Starbucks union busting, Google busting, union busting. And they have offices everywhere, including close to me. I started pro se filing in North Carolina Eastern District Federal Court November 16th under paragraph 510 of ERISA. Okay, what is ERISA? That's another, huge statute, probably as fat as Obamacare. I downloaded it. It was almost 1,000 pages. And, I found a paragraph that said, thou shalt not discriminate. So that's what I filed it under. ERISA covers retiree benefits and pension plans and stuff like that. This is in there. It says, thou shalt not discriminate. It also said you have the right to file a lawsuit. To increase my odds of winning, I need to hire counsel, which I can't personally afford. And since there's no big settlement request, it's not set up for a contingency percentage of settlement arrangement. So some of these things you read about where, oh, this was settled, or, what do I have? I got, Camp Lejeune, did you drink the water, in this time period, here, we'll settle for you. So the firm that's got that set up, this is kind of like, Better Call Saul. And really a lot of our experience of how legal systems work is what we see on TV. But, you get a bunch of similar people, and now, they're all getting money. And what happens is the law firm that got that win gets a percentage of the business, or percentage of the settlement. And the intention is legitimately to pay them back for, what were their efforts to do this. IBM missed their initial response date of December 9th. Their lawyers self-identified on December 11th, requested plus 30 days to respond. So on January 10th, 2024 or earlier, I expect a motion to dismiss, and I need to respond properly and conclusively. I'm in discussion with potential counsel, finally, after many prior search attempts. Please review and consider my GoFundMe campaign request. Okay, so there was the, it's not sign up to my channel and help me get ads. I'm not doing ads. But if you do feel that this is something where you want to help me out, the GoFundMe would be a way to do it. I do not have an easy way to communicate to the IBM retiree community, as the appropriate groups on Facebook are moderated. So these are the IBM retiree and IBM retiree benefits Facebook groups. And I believe are actually moderated by IBM or IBM HR. I believe there are at least 3,000 retirees with the same issue. It's a multi-million-dollar savings potential to IBM. Why else would they not just grant my simple request, my piddly little $20,000? And so, that's an interesting thing to read. And in my Reddit posts, I usually have and I'll post it here as well, the article in the Register that describes my situation. So one of the big things that happened if you're in this situation is you have to sort of think about, where do I start? I mean, I had no idea where to start. And I'm on a timeline. I've only got so much time to decide what to do. And even when I made a declaration that I'm gonna file and do this myself, then it's a pretty sick feeling in your stomach that you don't want to look like a fool when you're doing this. Now, in my gut, I watched Shawshank Redemption, and that was prisoners, representing the prisoners, do appeals and that from court. Had a picture of Tim Robbins in front of the big, law library behind him. Pretty good story. Documentary on the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski. He did his own appeals as well. And, although he didn't get out and lose the whole case, but he did avoid execution and got a life sentence. So, the question becomes, how do you get confidence in your move, and how do you get more effective? And that's going to build up. I'm going to jump right to what's the end of my advice for someone who wants to go down this path. What are my lessons learned? And I'm going to come back to these throughout. But another visual on the clipboard. I really learned two things. And this is, to me, what I advise to help you accomplish a pro se litigation. One is, it's a journey with a lot of steps, and it's overwhelming when you start to consider the whole thing. So really focus it on your one step at a time, and just focus on the first step and doing that one well, and things will flow from there. So in my case, it was stop worrying about what are you going to say in front of the judge, how are you going to deal with this or that activity from the opposing side. My first target was just get this statement of claim together, file the suit, and really that was a huge effort. And once that was in on November the 16th, I really felt like the train has left the station. I'd just been packing all this time, and right now the train has left, and my journey's begun. I'm waiting for the next station stop with IBM to respond, or IBM's counsel. The second one is, you're not alone, and if you do this completely alone, I guarantee you will fail. So there is expertise around you. Build your team, and I'm going to give you a couple examples of that. But if you have, use your family for moral support. If you have any friends or relatives that are in the legal business, talk to them. And then I started with actually three lawyers whose opinions I would trust, and this is how I'm going to close this. How I first got this kicked off. Um, Everybody has a real estate lawyer and real estate, and usually they do wills as well. And I really liked the one that we had, and I had trusted her with a recommendation. Oh yeah, this is the point I was going to make about why would I even go this route. Well, I grew up when there were yellow pages, but listings for lawyers in the yellow pages was just a stream of names, not even specialties. So trying to dial through all those would be frustrating. I've gone on various lawyer websites, put in contact form information, request for this, but my situation is very complex and I have to have the time to explain it, and then I can simplify it to it's just I want to get the money that they owe me, but the whole discussion about it is really masked in the complexities of ERISA and Medicare coverage and things like that. So, and I also didn't realize how much subspecialties there are in lawyers. So about 3 years ago, before I retired from IBM, I wasn't having a great time, and I wanted a lawyer, but I hadn't been fired yet, and I hadn't been laid off, but I wanted a lawyer. And so I called my real estate lawyer and I said I'd like an employment lawyer. I explained what I wanted, and she said, I don't know, you're not yet fired, kind of funky, but here, why don't you call this person? And I went through a chain of, referral to referral to referral, where I described the whole situation. Said, oh, I understand what you want, but I don't really do that. Another one, I understand what you want, but I don't really do that. And then I finally landed on this guy who said, okay, what is it you actually want? And he listened, and I said, oh, I think, IBM wants to put me on a PIP, and, maybe they'll want to offer me a settlement. Why would they want to do that, George? I go, I got a lot of inside information. They should want to shut me up with an NDA. That would be better. So that kind of pricked his ears. And then at the end, he says, I think you're on a fishing trip, right? In other words, I couldn't really give a split. What I wanted was someone to take that trip with me and bill me on a per hour basis when I called them, not, some big thing that they're taking charge of anything. And so he said, you're on a fishing trip. I said, yes, I agree. Do you want to come with me? And he did. And so he was helpful and, worked with me on a per hour basis. And I really liked him and I really trusted him. And I went to him with the same question. Actually, the questions I asked was, I'm going to file, a pro se lawsuit. Am I crazy? Am I stupid? And the usual answers were, you really shouldn't. You really should get counsel. It is a lot of work, but it is done. People do it, and I have researched some of that. And just it's high risk of success. So of those two are my local lawyers. So the guy who had worked for me as a lawyer, on retainer, and I paid him, said, you need someone who's got benefit skills, like employment benefit skills. It's a specialty I don't have. He says, I'm going to look for that. And I didn't realize how much of a specialty that was, and I never heard back from him. The other one wouldn't even call me back, and eventually, had the admin assistant give me the North Carolina Bar Association dial a referral lawyer service, where I could get, for someone who's put their name in the pool there, I could get a half hour of advice for $50. And I did follow that route as well. I did go on legal aid. I stopped waiting after about 55 minutes, never picked up. And I have another firm that I dealt with a little bit in New York in the years in the past, where I could just kind of bounce this off and with, and is it possible? What, how am I doing? Etc. And so that was a very useful start, so that within a week, I sort of was out of panic and had kind of a structure to pursue. So, and particularly the first dial-a lawyer I called, she listened very carefully, and at the end she said, because at that point I was, just help me file the claim. I don't even know where the paperwork is or anything. And she said she would respond to me with a complete list of all the documents that I would need to do, and even the address that IBM would be mailed to. It wasn't an address I knew of, because this is the other thing as a pro se, you're responsible for serving your opponent. So I had to actually do all the actions to serve the summons and serve the complaint to IBM. And she gave me that. She said it's just going to take more time, so she wanted another half hour, another $50, but that was $100 very well spent. and I really appreciated that. Anyways, I think that's enough time for the opening. I'd like to get into, just some of the details, explaining some of those things that got me through this timeline, how I was successful to file the claim. Again, it was with a lot of angst and questioning, and I received a number of challenges and topics along the way, which I overcome. So I look forward to your return, and thank you for listening today.